So good morning or good afternoon. It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Hopefully you guys having a good time, had a nice day. Today's town hall is on symbols and specifically the Confederate flag. Um, I want to caution everybody at the beginning. Um, I know that the Confederate flag means different things to different people, and people are very passionate about their feelings, but our town halls are about respect and respectful dialogue. As I say on every town hall, God gives you two ears and one mouth. Please use proportionally. Um, we're going to examine a story from a high school in Alabama where a picture was posted that included the image of the Confederate flag. We're going to use that as a starting point to have elevated the dialogue about the difference between history and heritage and hate that some people feel. This is a respectful conversation. Again, I'm going to warn everybody, let people speak. We're here to listen. So let me just get started with saying that the promise of America is a great one. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It takes hard work, sacrifice, and accountability. We have not always lived up to this promise, and today we will look and walk a mile in someone's shoes as we discuss the Confederate flag and symbols and what they mean, intent, and our reaction. Our goal is to improve our communities, and just remember that what is a real experience to you is real, even if you have not or others haven't had that same experience. Some of what you hear today you will agree with, some you will not agree with, some will make you angry, but please understand that we're here to protect and serve our communities and share an experience. Please understand we're here to listen and learn. We're here to provide positive solutions and find common ground and understanding of our differences. We do not need to agree on everything, but we need to find respect from one another on a basic human level. The guidelines, again, just so everybody knows, all audience members, please mute yourself unless you're on the panel. All speakers are asked to keep their remarks to 1 minute. This will allow for the most interaction and questions to be addressed. All questions or comments you can type into the chat box, and the moderators will call on you, and we'll try to get to as many people as possible. I know there's a lot of people that want to speak today. Again, I'll remind everybody, no political statements. This is a positive, respectful dialogue on how to improve our communities by being more kind and civil to those we don't know, don't look like, or don't agree with. If you cannot follow the guidelines, we will remove you. And with that, we'll get started. I want to keep in mind as we go through today's session, please keep in mind these words: respect, empathy, perspective, intent, forgiveness, and context. Those 6 words will come up throughout today's session, and it's going to be great. Our panel, as always, we're truly blessed once again with a star-studded panel of people. We have Dr. Alveda King, the niece of Dr. Martin Luther King, civil rights and justice reform activist, national figure. I'm sure everybody knows her, and just remarkable. I think there couldn't be a better topic to have her speak about. Also, we have with us former NFL Commissioner Paul Tagliabue. The NFL had to deal with segregation and how to balance and come out of that process in the early 70s when Paul was a wee little lad. And so it'll be great to have that perspective. We have with us Tyson Lee, the chairman of USA Boxing, who is a graduate of the same Baldwin County School District that this incident took place. And he's a resident of Mobile, Alabama. We also have with us General Scott Rice. He is the director of the Air National Guard, formerly. He just retired. Luckily, you see he's in a regular civilian clothes today for the first time. Many of you may or may not know that the Air Force was one of the first service branches that got into banning symbols of hate on fighter planes and call signs and other public displays. So we'll get a good perspective from that. Later on in the call, we're going to be joined by John Hanna, the legend, New England Patriot. Hopefully he's going to be able to join us here in a little bit. And then we have two special guests, Jeff Kilgore and David Moore. Hopefully they have joined us by now. I have to get my my chat and see if I see Dave. I think Dave's on, and then if Jeff is on. Did you talk to Jeff earlier today, Tyson? Make sure he was coming still. You have to unmute yourself. My okay, we'll just roll with it. And then I also want to introduce my team. Boyd is my co-host, and he helps moderate the chat. Air National Guard, he's doing his duty these days. So we welcome Boyd. And then Renata. Don't lump you for the Air Force. The Air Force is where it's at, isn't it? Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the beauty of everything here. If you come here to get off easy, this is not the place for that. We have our nice, fine, keep you honest contingent here. We also have a number of other special guests. I would like to introduce Diane from Rise. She's the CEO of Rise. She's been on a few calls with us in the past, and Rise is one of our partners. We did this great town hall last week on equity versus equality, and in 2 weeks we're going to use the opportunity to talk about leadership. So Diane, if you'd be nice enough to say hi to everybody. Yeah, and this is obviously a topic that cuts across geographical and as well as political divide. And so, is Dave on the call? Dave Moore, are you here? So we're gonna. All right. So I thought what we'd do is we start off with kind of setting the table. So I think I sent the link to everybody, and you saw the picture of the cheerleaders holding the T-shirt. Whoops, Alan Moore, you don't get to present. I wish I could stop that. So one bad thing is, let's see if I can figure out how to undo that. Alan Moore, I don't know if you can hear us, but you got to stop presenting. I'm going to present here in a second. But anyway, what I thought we'd start off with is, we always hear whenever you talk about the Confederate flag, we were trying to get Steve Phelps, the CEO of NASCAR. NASCAR recently banned the Confederate flag, and that was a big step. And we always hear the debate about the difference between hate versus heritage. So I thought we'd start off on the heritage side. Alan Moore, I don't know what you're doing, but if you can please, yeah, that's a good way to do it. You get in the penalty box temporarily. There we go. Hopefully he comes back. So I thought we'd get a little perspective, and so I've asked someone from the South, grew up in the South, to come and kind of set the table for us on what is it that is about the heritage. So, Dave, if you can just take a few minutes and kind of explain to us from your perspective what that means. Well, by the way, for all on the call, if you could please, when you speak, if you could please introduce yourself and your background just briefly, so everybody has that information, that would be great. All right, now that's going to set the table for our discussion, and it's a perspective that's shared by a lot of people, and I'm not we're not here at this point to talk about what's right or wrong, but we're going to put some things in context. So just give me a second here. I'm gonna try to give a little historical um, perspective, if you will, and we're going to talk about from a historical perspective when we talk about heritage and that particular flag and everything, what what that means. So just give me a second here. I'm going to try to go fast because I want to get to our great panel. So just hopefully this is going to work. Everybody see that? So as we get into the Civil War, the first thing I think everybody realizes is the Dred Scott case, and that's a landmark decision in which the Supreme Court rules 7-2 that American citizenship, the U.S. Constitution does not call for citizenship of black people. Um, then we get into 1861, and African slavery exists. This is a speech that was written and delivered, by A.H. Stevens as the Confederacy adopted its Constitution. For those of you, this isn't really taught in school, unfortunately, but it should be. So when the Confederacy was born, it basically adopted the U.S. Constitution with four main differences. One of the differences was that the president only served 6 years, but the main difference, and as you can see in this speech, the rock upon which the split was slavery. Our new government is founded upon exactly the opposite ideas. Its foundations are laid. Its cornerstone rests on the great truth that the Negro is not equal to the white man, and that slavery is his natural and normal condition. Did you know that the Confederate flag, as you know it, and as it was shown on the t-shirt, was never actually the Confederate flag? It was never the official flag. The flag you see below is the official Confederate flag. That the flag was never even used or took on any significance until the 20th century. It was the battle flag of Robert E. Lee's unit, the Army of Northern Virginia, and after the war, General Lee, who is considered a hero in the South, said, I think it's wiser, moreover, not to keep open the sores of war. And no flag was flown at his funeral. Although it was never the official flag, it's now widely used as a symbol. And the first of the Ku Klux Klan was brought in immediately after the Civil War in 1865 to 1871. In 1871, under Ulysses S. Grant, the Enforcement Act of 1871 suppressed the KKK by suspending the writ of habeas corpus as a way to combat the KKK and other white supremacy organizations. And the flag was only used, the Confederate flag was only used at funerals of Confederate soldiers. Jim Crow laws were then instituted to mandate racial segregation in all public facilities in the states of the former Confederate States of America. In 1900, Mississippi redesigned their state flag to incorporate the Confederate battle flag for the first time. Teddy Roosevelt became president, and Jim Crow laws were upheld in the 1896 famous Supreme Court decision of Plessy versus Ferguson and established separate but equal. Teddy Roosevelt was famous for his military victory at the Battle of San Juan Hill. As New York governor, he ended segregations in schools in New York. He became the first president to have a black person have dinner at the White House when Booker T. Washington had dinner. And for those of you that have always heard the phrase, rising tides lift all boats, that was a speech he gave in honor of Abraham Lincoln's birthday in 1905. He created the National Park System, and of course he earned a reputation as the Trust Buster. In 1915, the Ku Klux Klan reemerged, and it reemerged as a direct result of Birth of a Nation. So when Rise talks about the influence that athletes can have in influencing in society, Birth of a Nation became the first Hollywood blockbuster. A scene in the movie created the mythology that was adopted by the KKK to do cross burnings, which a lot of people probably didn't realize that cross burnings weren't a KKK thing until Birth of a Nation came out. And that certainly influenced their tradition and symbolism going forward, and they started adapting what is known as the Confederate battle flag at that time. Also, the Daughters of the Confederacy began raising money and building statues across the South. When Woodrow Wilson becomes president, he institutes segregation throughout the federal government. Post-World War II, so the third iteration of the Klan comes out in 1946 at the end of World War II. In 1948, President Truman officially desegregated the military. Immediately, there was a reaction across the South, and the newly formed segregationist party, the Dixiecrats, adopted the Confederate battle flag as a symbol of resistance to the federal government. The Dixiecrats were determined to protect Southern states' rights by maintaining racial segregation. In 1956, Georgia redesigned their state flag to include the Confederate battle flag, and that was a direct result of the Supreme Court's Brown versus Board of Education. At this point, we see the emergence of Martin Luther King and the Civil Rights Movement. And with that, I'd like to bring in Dr. Alveda King. I'm sure she has lots of great stories to talk about. I'll leave the slide up if you want, Dr. King, but if you'd like to talk about Martin Luther King and how he fought against hatred and was more about not being a victim, I'll let you take it away. Hi. Well, there's always the Redskins. Um, So I want to read a quote, and this is for all the. Hey, Boyd, hang on. So, so I want to read a quote, and for all the ROTC kids, you guys can comment in the comment section, or anybody can comment who you think said this quote. Our effort should be to secure to each man, whatever his color, equality of opportunity, equality of treatment before the law. As a people, striving to shape our actions in accordance with the great law of righteousness, we cannot afford to take part in or be indifferent to oppression or maltreatment of any man who, against crushing disadvantages, by his own industry, energy, self-respect, perseverance, struggled toward an upward position which would entitle him to the respect of his fellows, if only for his skin were of a different hue. Try to. Let me. I'll put it up on the screen so people can see the quote. But if you want to just type in who you think said this, this is a quote that I think kind of encapsulates the whole conversation and really what this whole thing is about. And this quote was said by Teddy Roosevelt in 1905 on the birthday of Abraham Lincoln. This was part of the Rising Tides Lifts All Boats, where he called out Southerners and Northerners alike. So I wanted to share that. I wanted to bring in now, as we get past the civil rights era and we get into the 70s, we're still experiencing segregation and things, even though Jim Crow went away. And the NFL and sports has always been kind of the leader. So I want to bring in Paul Tagliabue, the former commissioner of the NFL, to talk about the things that he had to deal with when he first came in on the job. You, are you there? How are you? So if you can call in, I sent you the number. Just use your phone and call in. Hang on 1 second. Yeah, it says joined by phone. Yeah. All right. Thanks. No, that was quite good. I think perspective is so. On that note, go ahead, Paul. Yeah, and hang on one second, Tyson. Sorry. On that note, I want to bring in General Rice because it's a great opportunity to transition into in the Air Force, and they're recognizing symbols of hate or symbols of division and how they handled that situation. I think that perspective is perfect timing right now for General Rice to jump in, and then we'll come back to you, Tyson. Sorry. Thanks, General Rice. Go ahead, Paul. No, so hang on one second. We're going to transition into the the thing that kind of got us started on this. I got to go back to my screen share here, so just give me a second here. So we have a picture. Sorry for my computer being slow. Um, there we go. Just do it this way. Um, so we have a picture that was posted on social media with some high school cheerleaders from a high school in Alabama, where they posted a picture holding a T-shirt. I heart redneck boys, where the heart is in the symbol of the Confederate flag. And so I want to start the discussion there. Um, and Tyson, since you're the local resident, if you want to kind of give a briefing to everybody, what the reaction was and what kind of took place to kind of set the scene for us, I appreciate it. Thanks, Tyson. So, one of the things I would like to do, Colonel Hensley, is I think we still have some of the ROTC kids on. Is that correct? Jessica. No, that's great. So we're going to start with Jessica because this involves high school kids. Thought it'd be good to hear some perspective from fellow high school students. And so if you guys would, we'll start with you, Jessica. Just introduce yourself to the group and let's talk about whatever you want to talk about as far as your reaction to the picture. No, no. I mean you're entitled to your opinion, and I think the word empathy is a good word. Um, One of the parents of one of the girls in the picture has chimed in, and I'd like to allow them to have something to say. So, Brandy, if you would. Isn't technology fun? Um, no, that's okay. You're the one great thing about the Voice Project is people get to say what they want to say, and we listen, and no one jumps down your throat. And just for pure transparency purposes, I saw the story on TMZ. You know, I've been wanting to address the issue of the Confederate flag on a town hall for many weeks. And when I saw the story, I immediately contacted the reporter who wrote it um, and spoke with her. Through then, I got connected to the parents of both sides. I invited the parents of both sides to be on this call today. I invited the reporter to be on this call today. Um, the other parent, the Colemans, they were on the call earlier, but apparently they've left the call. Um, so I just wanted to have that transparency. In the research I did on the story, I saw that both sets of girls, the 6 girls in the picture, as well as the other girl, Reagan, who's quoted in the story, all of them have been receiving death threats and, you know, just hate on social media. It definitely brings out the stupidity of man, um, which to me as a father is completely unacceptable. Um, but at the same time, it gives us it's a moment of learning about the symbol of the flag and what it means to people. And you know, I thought that um, the cadets really wrote it in when Jessica talked about empathy and understanding empathy. And I want to read something to you guys, and then open the floor to comments. This was one of the posts on that was done on social media, and I want to introduce John Hanna. He is he has the designation as the second best New England Patriot of all time. Um, he is an offensive lineman, so we won't hold that against him, right, Mike Haynes? Um, and I'm going to have him. He's a lifelong Alabaman and a father and a grandfather and just an all-around tremendous human being. So let me read this to you. I love how you people talk 24/7 about change, but change won't come if every time someone makes a mistake, they get canceled. I'm sure the girls realize that the shirt was a huge mistake, but how are people supposed to learn and grow when others are beating them down? I'm not condoning the picture, just offering a perspective of love and logic. If we don't allow people to learn and grow, change will not happen. The girls have apologized and deleted the post. What else do you want them to do? And so I'm going to open the floor with some opinion here on how everybody feels. What else do you want them to do? So I'm going to start, if you would please, John, if you can introduce yourself, and we welcome you to the group. Are you still with us, John? We might have lost John, so I'll just throw it open. I'm going to ask Admiral Kibben, because we talk a lot about forgiveness, and we talk about perspective and intent and all those things. So what else do you think the girls should do? No, that's awesome. And I mean, I tried to get Ms. Coleman. She was on the call earlier, and for whatever reason, she dropped off. I texted her to come back, and I try to do the best I can, work my magic. Diane, you're a mom. I know you have something to say. No, that's well said. I'm going to try to once again bring in John Hanna. Are you there, John? I see that he's here. I don't know what's the deal. There you are. So as a father, go ahead. Absolutely. Absolutely. Anyway, we're trying to keep politics out of the conversation, John. Okay. And I know we hang on a second, Boyd. I know we have a lot of people who have things to say about what John just said. So let's try to be um, yeah, we're going to be civil. That's an absolute. We don't have any other plan here. But I do want to say one thing real quick. So the idea that the Confederate symbol throughout history has been used to promote segregation, and I'm talking about the battle flag, the not because the battle flag, as we know it, the red flag with the blue stars and cross, that flag represents segregation. It's been used for segregation since 1946. So you have to understand that people don't look at that as a source of pride. But I do. But when people use a symbol for hate and it represents hate, don't you think that has to be taken into account, that we have to, as human beings, have empathy and understanding about how that's used? But here, no, I understand what your point is, but my point is the Civil War ended in 1865 and the United States won. So as are we Americans or are we Confederates? Well, right, but why don't we get something else to represent that than something that represents divisiveness? Well, like for example, we have the T-shirt. The girls posted a picture that they heart rednecks. So my recommendation would be to the gas station that sold that T-shirt, instead of putting the Confederate flag in the heart, why don't we put James Dean? I mean, he was a rebel without a cause. I mean, he's like the ultimate redneck. I mean, six, 16-year-old girls liking rednecks in Alabama is not breaking news. I don't think. No, that's true. Boyd, you want to say you had something to say? Um, I, But they didn't fly, but they didn't fly the flag after the Civil War. They put it away. It wasn't until really 1946 when the Dixiecrat Party came about that the flag came back and became popular, and it was used for one thing and one thing over, and that was because of segregation and Jim Crow. I, we presented that history at the beginning of the call. Yeah, go ahead, sir. No, that's great, and I think that the perspective and like we talked about at the very beginning when we talk about um, respect, perspective, empathy, context, all those things matter. And I want to I want to have BJ, who's also one of the parents, and his daughter is the one that actually posted the picture. Um, I know he wants to say something, and so I'm going to throw it over to BJ. Are you there, BJ? I see you're unmuted. You might have to call back in or something. I don't know what's going on, BJ. All right, we're going to keep it moving. As soon as you get back on, BJ, let me know. Um, Brandy, I don't know if you want to respond to what you heard after what you said. I see you're still here. No, no, Brandy. No, I said if you want to respond to what you've heard. So Or you can send them a copy of this video. Have them have them take a look. Hey, BJ, are you there? We can see you now. Yeah, there you are. Hey. Well, no, I mean you don't have to apologize forever. I don't think anyone thinks that, but I mean you definitely there's things that you learn from your experience and how you go about and carry yourself in the future. And I think that when you talk about forgiveness and there's still some things obviously you're dealing with, but actions speak louder than words. And I think that I've spoken with Dr. King and Admiral Kibbins separately. Now that they've got the story, they definitely want to talk to the girls and help them to the next step and the next level. And eventually these girls are going to be moms, and they're going to teach their kids, and each generation will get better. I think we have to sort of wrap up here, but I want to kind of leave everybody as I started. I like to look at things in historical context, and I know that my aunt, my grand aunt, I guess technically my grandmother's sister is on this call. She's 88 years old, and my family founded the town of Bowen, Kentucky, and I grew up listening to stories of the South and what Southern, quote unquote Southern pride was about. And as you educate yourself on what the Confederacy stood for, there's the states' rights part of it, which appeals to a lot of people, not just in the South. But at the same time, when you talk about symbols, it's like, would you put up a statue in your neighbor's yard of the guy who raped and killed his daughter and think that was a good idea? Would you hoist the Nazi flag over your house? The answer is no. And because those symbols are associated with hate, no matter how much good there is, there's a lot of bad. And I think if there's one thing I'd like to leave everybody with, as you think about things, you can still have Southern pride, and you can still have pride in culture and cuisine and rednecks and all these kind of things, but you don't need the flag to have pride. You don't need that flag to have pride. And I think the sooner that we realize that the Confederacy is over, they were the losers, America was the winners, and we're all Americans now, the better race relations will be in this country. And I always like to circle back to the article that John Harmon wrote when he wrote about don't hide, don't hate, don't be a victim. And I'll repost it again for everybody to read. He was on one of our town halls earlier, and I think it's just good advice. And you know, I think it's better if we try to eliminate, like General Rice said, when the Air Force, anything that's divisive. Why are we talking about it? It's divisive. Are we the United States of America, or are we the divided states? Are we trying to divide people or bring people together? And try to keep in mind that thing. We're not trying to erase history. I'm not saying tear down statues or anything like that, but that flag was used specifically since 1946 for one thing and one thing only, and that's hate, and that's segregation, and that's the subjugation of the African American, and that they were not equal with the white man. And that's just a fact. That is historical fact. And it's time to move on. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to say, but that's my point of view. Well, let me just say that, as you might imagine, when I broached the topic of doing this town hall, I got a lot of pushback from a lot of people saying, "What the hell are you doing? Um, this is dumb." You know, I invited the principal of the school, I invited the superintendent of the school, I invited the ROTC kids from the school, and nobody showed up because they're all afraid or don't want to talk about it. But if you're not able to have a frank conversation and have different points of view, like John has his point of view, you have your point of view, Tyson. Everybody has their point of view, but if you don't have the conversation, how are things ever going to get better? And you have to be able to listen to things that you don't agree with and be able to still move forward. Because at the end of the day, John Hanna is an offensive guard. I hate offensive linemen. They suck. You know, I spent my career trying to earhole those sons of bitches. And at the same time, you know, I can say to that guy, he's one of the greatest football players of all time, and his heart is he means to be in a good place, and so you know we can work together to figure that out. I don't have to hate him just because I don't agree with him. Just like Tyson, you and Dave, or you and Jeff, you know your stories you tell me about those guys. So just you know that's the great thing about these forums is we can come together and have a civil discussion about a topic that is uncivilized, I guess. Anybody want to have any final thoughts? Colonel Hensley, you got anything? You have to unmute. You're pre- Go ahead, Brian. And again, once again, it's all about goals. What is your goal? At the end of the day, what is your goal and how do you win hearts and minds to get to your goal? And if you don't win hearts and minds, you're not going to be successful. And, I think those girls, certainly as they get older and get through college, they'll look back on this as a great learning experience. I mean, it's probably hell right now, but um, I think that they made a mistake. They admitted the mistake, and they're trying to, unfortunately, our cancel culture these days, it just doesn't make sense to me. But there are some things, I would say the best thing. I'm not exactly the greatest person to give advice to teenagers because I have one of my own, but um, you know, it's how you live your life from now on, from this point forward, that people will look at you and look back at what do they do from this point forward? How do they carry themselves? Are they accountable? They're cheerleaders, some of them in the picture. They represent the school. Obviously the school has had whatever discipline that they've decided to employ. But beyond that, you know, um, there's opportunity for them through works and deeds to become better people and to always try to improve. And hey, start a nonprofit like I did. Sure. Yeah, you said we'll text Lay. My only thing I'd say to that, Dave, is you and I had a really good conversation earlier today, and I understand what like I said about pride, but also don't you think you have to take into account when you're trying to be unifying and you realize that what that flag represents, and I mean, of all the black marks of our country, there's really one, and that's slavery. And at some point we have to put it behind us to be able to move forward. And I just think that you know I get the pride thing. I grew up listening to it with my grandfather for years and years and years, and I just don't understand it. I'm sorry. You can have pride. You don't need the flag. Not that flag. Well, I mean, again, it's that was actually the official flag, so that wasn't used as a hate symbol. Even though, like again, my point would be: are you an American or are you a Confederate? I mean, we're supposed to be the United States of America. The Confederacy lost. In case you didn't get the memo. That's actually factually inaccurate. But again, I won't quibble with you on that. But that's factually inaccurate. I mean, it is. Fort Sumter, the last time I checked, was in South Carolina. So, yeah, so that's not exactly an invasion of the North. So, I mean, again, I mean, I'm going to leave everybody with the words of Robert E. Lee because he is supposed to be, well, he is the, you know, one of the greatest generals in the history of our country, and a lot of people don't realize that he was the superintendent of West Point, um, and and uh, and he had a lot of things to write about the Confederacy, most of them not so good, and he's held up as a symbol and a hero in the South. So as you talk about Southern pride, why don't we heed the words of General Lee when he says, "I think it's wiser not to keep open the sores of war." Sometimes wise men have wise things to say. I appreciate everybody on the call. You know, our next call is in 2 weeks. Everyone's invited as always. It's an open forum. Our call is about leadership, and we're going to work in our partnership with RISE and talk about leadership. I think that our country can use always better leaders, and I think that the military veteran experience and the the men on the right and the men on the left and accountability and those traits can lead us to a better communities and a better country. Thank you guys.